Greetings and welcome to the Massac Report. I'm Carl Bodner. It will be my pleasure to moderate a discussion on the merits and drawbacks to traditional summer break from school. During the discussion, our guest panelists will share thoughts about alternative school calendars. Our guest panelists are to my left, Mrs. Tracy Forstrom, an outstanding member of Massac's English Department. To my right, Mr. Ian Lowe, Department Chair of Massac History and Social Science Department. Our student guests are seniors Natalie Kokab to the left and John Testani on my right. I speak for all of us when I say that we hope this edition will stimulate thought and discussion on your part as all school districts strive to provide rigorous curricula for student learning. So let us begin. The first question is rather general but necessary, and one to which I think it would be good for each of our panelists to respond. It is argued by some pedagogues that summer learning loss is a cause for broadening achievement performance gaps among American students. Is this something with which you agree or not, and why? There are those who propose year-round education tracking systems. For example, would school be in operation for 60 days and off for 20 days? Their argument states that this allows for less interruption in learning continuity, yet still allows flexibility for family vacations and other personal needs. At this time, I'd like to ask our panelists to express some of their thoughts, and we'll ask Mr. Lowell to open the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Bodner. I think the information is pretty clear. There's some pretty startling statistics in a number of different publications that show that there is a summer slide or a summer loss of learning, especially exacerbated by the fact that socioeconomic status plays a large role. And so for poorer students who are unable to do the enrichment activities that maybe a wealthier family is provided with during the summer, there can be a significant loss in learning during the summertime. So my first answer would be, yeah, I agree that there is a learning loss that does occur over the summer.
Are you in agreement with our colleague?
I'm in complete agreement with my colleague. I, as a teacher, have seen it myself that students come in after the summer and have forgotten some of the information that they've learned in previous years. And I agree wholeheartedly that socioeconomics does play a large part. I think that some students that don't have the same opportunities that other students have in the summertime, summer camp opportunities, summer school opportunities, and the like, they don't have that same opportunity to continue their education in the summer and sort of fortify it through those activities. So maybe they sit in front of a television, or they just hang around, and they don't have that same ability to maintain the knowledge from the school year during that break.
Natalie, what are your thoughts about this?
I agree as well that students do forget over breaks, but I think the amount of the break is not that big of a difference. For me, forgetting over the summer and forgetting over like a 2-week break is more or less the same thing, because when you're over the summer break, you forget material that you learned in the classes before, but when you come back to school, you learn new material, so that's a different kind of forgetting. But when you're over a week of time, it's a different kind of thing because you're going back to the same classroom, so it's easier to relapse into that program. But for me personally, I review my summer work before I come back to school, so that helps me kind of remember. But I agree that big of a time, you lose a lot of information that you learned.
John, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree that there's a learning loss. Just as a student coming back to school, I feel I don't know as much about the science. In math, I feel comfortable, and also in English I do, because I think that's what we have a summer packet in math, and we were required to read. I also know that during the elementary and 2 years in middle school, we had intense math packet, reading packet, writing packet, and also there was a science. And then in 7th and 8th grade, that kind of just stopped. We were always given the math packets and all the packets, and now you got to go online and get them. So I think that the loss of without the science packet, the writing packet and stuff, yeah, it does affect students in their learning.
Do you think that these packets are a reasonable substitute for keeping you folks on task and in recall, and that we need additional packets? Is that what we need to do? Where you're doing more reinforcement and relearning on your own time?
Yeah, I don't know if we necessarily need additional packets, but maybe more packets for each subject, because as John mentioned, we only have packets on math, and then otherwise for English we have summer reading books. We don't really have packets for English, or we don't have packets for science or history. So we're only reviewing math, and as for English, we're just reading, nothing more. So.
What are your thoughts as teachers about this idea? What do you think? Do you like what Natalie is suggesting?
Of course, I love it when students ask for more work. Who wouldn't love that? I think that she's going to incur the wrath of many a student asking for more work. But no, I think that that's great. And as far as the summer reading is concerned, I know that the English department we definitely promote reading, as does the history department, because it's so important to practice that skill. It's a little difficult to give you a packet for English per se, because depending on what class you're moving into in the next year, as you go further in your high school career, the classes become linked with the history. There are some British lit classes, American lit classes, and then classes that are specific, and a writing class, a contemporary lit class, and reading is the common ground in every one of those classes we're asking you to read. So I think that instead of the packets, we've looked to a summer reading as an alternative, because it's been a skill, and it's a skills-based assessment.
Well, for English, I think the summer reading is enough to keep students on track, but for other subjects, maybe a small packet would be better.
We've gotten to it in history as well. For the first year, this year, students, John and Natalie, went through the AP program for U.S. history last year, but this is the first year that we actually instituted a summer reading assignment, and reading and a high order thinking skills assessment that was part of the summer assignment, because we saw a learning loss in our advanced placement students. And although the summer slide is associated most oftentimes with lower performing urban districts that need extra help, we see it right here at Monroe with our top students in our AP history classes.
Does that reading assignment to which you refer have a written attachment of some sort?
It does. I think it's very important that students reflect and put into writing their thoughts after they've read, because I think that really helps. Or I guess it doesn't help them, but it requires them to really think about what they've read in their text or in their novel, and put some of themselves into it. Because otherwise, if they're anything like me, if you're on the beach in the summer and you're reading a book, you can take something away from it, but then there's a lot that you lose. There's a lot that you forget. And when you come back, I mean, we're talking about summer forgetting here. I mean, there's a lot that you forget when you just pick up a book and read it for fun. I think writing a piece doesn't have to be large in scope, but I think a writing piece is important.